If you grew up in the late 2000s and early 2010s, then you likely remember a YouTuber by the name of Fred Figglehorn. Created by a 13-year-old Lucas Crookshank in 2006, Fred was a hyperactive 6-year-old boy best known for his sporadic behavior and high-pitched voice, which was created by Lucas speeding up the videos in post to make it sound goofier. Most of the videos would just be Fred making vlogs about his day, topped with lots of ear-splitting screaming. The character became exponentially popular in the late 2000s, specifically in 2009 when he guest starred on the hit Nickelodeon sitcom iCarly, which caused him to become so popular with general audiences that he ended up reaching over 1 million subscribers on his YouTube channel, being the first YouTuber in history to do so. And this massive success caused him to get 3 movies and a TV show on Nickelodeon. So it's clear that Fred has a lot of importance in YouTube history, and is a rather well-known relic by those who remember him. But where there's fame and success, also comes resentment and hate. It's hard to see why. The main joke with the video is that he's an annoying kid with a high-pitched voice, and even Lucas himself said that people either love or hate Fred and that there's no in between. I personally really like Fred. Though I was just a toddler at the time of his popularity and I wasn't even alive yet when he first started YouTube, I still look back on him as a charming part of Gen Z internet and pop culture. And though it does make sense why a lot of people hate him, I think he's alright. However, I'm not here to talk about Fred or the channel by itself, but rather the people who disliked Fred and what they did to express their hatred towards him, specifically in the form of satirical parodies. I jotted down 4 of them that I could find, and I'll be looking at all of them and reviewing them based on how enjoyable they are and how accurate they are to the actual Fred channel. So, without further ado, let's begin, starting with...
And just what do you think you're doing?
OMG! Frankie FM from the FM Studios channel? What are you doing here?
You can't do a Fred-themed video without me. I know everything about Fred.
So, you know about the parodies, right?
Of course. There's Frag on ONENG and there's Fred on Mad.
Those are only 2 of the 4 I'm planned on talking about, but since you seem to know those ones so well, how about I talk about the other 2?
Sure, I guess. Wait a minute, am I getting paid for this?
No.
You know what? Whatever. Let's do this.
Believe it or not, the hit TV show known as Johnny Test parodied Fred in his prime. This comes from the episode Johnny Tube in Season 4. In this episode, Johnny gets the idea to become an internet sensation after witnessing the extreme popularity of high-pitched Hal on SnoopTube, who gets so popular online that he ends up becoming a Hollywood star with his own movie. Note that this episode came out around the time Fred the movie came out. He's basically the most basic parody of Fred there is. All he has that matches the real Fred is the high-pitched voice, but none of the personality. Fred is immature and whiny and has some vague mental problems that exacerbate his already problematic behavior. Lots of people found that personality annoying, sure, but it was a personality nonetheless. High-pitched Hal doesn't have any of that. He's not even in the episode that much because he's only in about the first 30 seconds or so before it goes back to Johnny, so there was no opportunity for him to make more of an impression anyway. It's so clear that this parody was written by a bunch of out-of-touch middle-aged men who knew little to nothing about the very thing they were parodying, which makes sense because, like I said earlier, this episode came out at the same time Fred the movie did, which means they probably made the episode in like a month after catching wind of the release. On top of that, this episode came out at a time when many other kid shows were making episodes about internet videos and internet culture, because in the mid to late 2000s, that was the rise of it. And it's not like TV producers can't be good at parodying or adapting internet stuff. The writers of Fred the movie knew the appeal to the character, and they did their homework on the Fred videos. Despite taking some liberties to fit a film standard, they still captured the spirit of the videos well and made something that many Fred fans considered a worthy adaptation to their favorite YouTuber. So there's really no excuse. The writers didn't even care to get the parody right, which is why High-Pitched Hal is a bland and boring parody of someone who was the complete opposite. I'll give them some credit though. They got the horrible camera quality of the 2010 Fred videos spot on.
The Mad Cartoon Network show was about making parodies of popular IPs. They did this with video game characters, Disney shows, Disney films, Mickey, Collarton, Gopher, and other IPs. So around 2011, when it was flopping, you ugly Spy Kids 4 parody, they started making Fred parodies. One is about Fred becoming a zombie and the other is just Fred interviewing celebrities. Since he's barely in that, I'll talk about the zombie one. It's about two people at a campfire until Fred shows up with a backwards E with red eyes, indicating he's a zombie. Okay. He starts spreading the disease around the world, which starts a pandemic of Freds. It's simple and well done, so I'll be giving this a 7 out of 10. I didn't have much to say about. Just look at the other guy's script. He has like paragraphs and shit. I have nothing.
Chibi Durf is a Fred parody made by disgraced YouTuber Onision back in 2009. Onision was a pretty popular YouTuber back in the late 2000s, so him making a parody of another popular YouTuber at that time is not surprising. However, unlike the YouTuber he was parodying, Onision is a rather controversial figure. Most of you probably already know this, but he's done a lot of weird and just terrible things that have made him one of the most controversial and hated YouTubers on the entire platform. However, I'm not here to talk about Onision himself, because I'm trying to put my bias aside to focus on if the videos he made are objectively good. Newsflash, they're horrible! Let's look at the very first Chibi video. It's bad. Onision's trying his best to imitate how quote-unquote annoying Fred is by constantly rambling and chuckling and just doing annoying crazy things, but it transcends the point of being funny because of any accuracy, and it becomes more annoying than the thing he's claiming to be annoying. It's primarily because he's trying way too hard to be quirky and goofy, and it's not being even mildly chuckle-worthy about 10 seconds in. It's also important to note that Lucas was only a teenager when he first made the Fred videos, so it had a lot of charm because he was just a kid making goofy internet videos to have fun. But Onision was already a full-grown adult by this time, so all the charm is sucked out. But that's not even the worst Chibi video. The worst one, in my opinion, is Chibi Eats Everything. In this video, Chibi decides he needs to find his quote-unquote favorite food, and so to do that, he climbs into a tub, and he gets a whole bunch of sauces and spices and other types of food items, and he shoves them all into his face. He barely even eats them, he just shoves them all onto his face and hair and clothes, and it drags on for 5 whole minutes, and it's never once funny. The worst part about this video is that a lot of the food items that he wasted looked fairly new, which inclines me to believe that he had to go out and buy all, or at least some of the foods, specifically for the purpose of making this video, which is just fucking insulting. In the words of the great George Liquor from the cartoon Cans Without Labels,
do you know how many starving African babies would kill for a nice face like this? Do you?
I will give these videos some credit. They can be pretty accurate to the original Fred videos when they want to be. Onision actually does a pretty good job at capturing Fred's immature and selfish mannerisms pretty well, when he's actually attempting to be faithful and not just using the Fred IP as a backdrop for his own style of content. Does that make it good? Not at all. And it's not accurate all the time. Another thing I need to point out is that basically every single Chibi video has been deleted off of the main Onision channel, so they only survive today with re-uploads. But because they're all jumbled up and all over the place, it's hard to put them in chronological order, so it's hard to know when he started and when he stopped. And that makes it even harder for me, because now I don't even know if the Chibi videos online are even all the ones that existed. Maybe there's ones that are lost, who knows? But don't stress yourself over the other ones, most of them are about the same level of quality, though unlike the real Fred videos, other actors do appear occasionally. Onision did try to branch out and do a bit more with the chibi videos, such as implementing storylines and continuity and things like that, but like I said earlier, because most of these videos were deleted and then re-uploaded in a non-chronological way, it makes it hard to piece all of them together, and as a result, any effect it could have had is lost. The chibi videos became pretty frequent on Onision's channel for a while, but after Fred himself stopped being popular, then the videos stopped being made. It goes to show, if you want to make fun of another YouTuber, don't do it so often to the point where it's all the content you make, or else it's going to become dated really fast. To conclude, Chibi Durf sucks. What kind of stupid name is Chibi Durf anyway? Wait. Durf. But Durf is just Fred backwards. And in Fred the movie, there was a character called Durf that was the opposite of Fred. And Fred the movie was not only released the year after the first chibi video was uploaded, but it was filmed a few months after as well. Oh my god! Did Fred the movie steal from Onision? Probably not.
The Fred parody made by OniNG is a cartoon animated base with Fred used as the star role. It begins with the audio from a video of Fred becoming friends with Bertha, I think that's it. And if you look at Fred's shirt, you see it says Frag. I'll take away the R. Yeah, that didn't age well. While Fred is doing his dialogue, he gets his head blown off by a shotgun, and then shot again by an unknown individual. Well, anyway, it seems Oni hates Fred, so his parody is based on hating him. Doesn't matter, I'll be giving this parody a 6 out of 10.
And that was all the Fred parodies that we could find. In retrospect, the biggest problem with a lot of these parodies is that most of them just tend to say the exact same thing. Fred is annoying. And the criticism, or parody, never goes past that. They don't do anything funny with this, they just state that Fred is insufferable and then make fun of him. And in all honesty, it's really mean-spirited. Remember that a good majority of these parodies were made at a time when Fred was barely an adult yet. He was just a teenager who was making silly videos on the internet. He never had the intention of Fred becoming a huge pop culture sensation for a few years. He was just having fun. And to be fair, there were an equal amount of fans to balance out the haters. So it wasn't all ruthless bullying on the internet's end. I really like Fred, but I don't really like any of these parodies.
What do you mean you don't like any of these parodies? What have I mad? That one was good.
That's your opinion, man.
But my opinion always matters. Written by TTS for free trial version.